So what we got here?
Okay, so what I wanted to show you here is really an example of tolerant hardwood management, and this is quite clearly a hardwood stand.
Right.
The leaves are off at this time of year, but mostly sugar maple. And I guess what I wanted to show you in here is, you know, a little bit. We get asked the question a lot of times about why don't we plant hardwood?
Right.
And what are we doing about hardwood to make sure that we always have hardwood? And the answer to why don't we plant hardwood is because you don't need to. Hardwood will regenerate naturally depending on how we treat the stand. And so in here we have a sugar maple dominated stand. And these are the sugar maples that you see here, these kind of grayish looking trees.
Right.
And this is what we call uneven age management. So you see different size trees, and those are different ages of trees.
Okay.
Okay. And what we've done in here is we're standing actually on a trail where the machines extracted some wood. And we went in and we selected typically trees that are dying or poor form and that kind of stuff. What we're trying to do is to better the stand. We're trying to take out everything that's got imminent mortality, and we're trying to leave behind trees that are going to grow and have future potential. And you see there's different sizes. There's these kind of small size trees, there's the kind of medium sized trees, and then there's larger trees. Okay. And this piece of land here will be managed on 30-year rotations. So the next time we come in here will be 30 years from now. Okay. And then again we'll select out some of the things that are dying and dead or imminent mortality or damaged and that kind of stuff. And by that time, well, we'll probably be a tree about, you know, bigger than this for sure. This tree right here, this is a sugar maple, and this will be kind of like that tree.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Right.
And
so it'll take 30 years to go from that to that?
No, it'll take about 30 years to go from that to that.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This guy's just a better example of one of these sugar maples.
Okay.
And that's how you regenerate hardwood. Hardwood is always going to, what we call, sucker back from the stump or the roots.
What does that mean?
Well, a hardwood has an enormous root system, okay? And it's sitting in the ground in this really rich soil, and it's a big pump, okay? And obviously when we cut the tree, you've got this big root system that is still pumping. And it decides, well, I got to grow something. And it actually kind of pushes up roots and makes branches out of them. And so this is coming right off the root system of this sugar maple stump. Right. Okay? And after a while, he'll grow up and he'll look something like this. Okay? And so these are extremely long-term type rotations, and always managed through select cut. So through a series of progressive select cuttings over, you know, the next 80 to 100 years, this area will basically stay in perpetuity a sugar maple stand, a hardwood stand. And that's really the short story on hardwood management. You know, interestingly enough, there's more hardwood growing in the province of New Brunswick today than there was 50 years ago. And I think that says something to, you know, the fact that people are managing for hardwood. You know, we're on a land base just up the road here, 15 kilometers. You have the largest hardwood sawmill east of Montreal. You know, and this land base and another one of our land bases supplies that mill with a steady source of quality hardwood saw logs that go into all kinds of products like furniture and cabinets and hardwood floors. I think it's worth walking across the street just one last time into that stand and having a look at it. And
because now that's a planted stand, right?
That's a planted stand.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think
I know
it's
what I'm looking at.
Sure, and I think it's a good idea to go back in there and talk about, you know, is this the monoculture? Is this the Acadian Forest discussion? So here we are back, just across the street from where we came, and you can clearly see that this is now going down slope to a flat area down there, which is mostly softwood from what I can see through the trees. And this is an area that was planted probably between 1962 and 1965, and planted primarily to white spruce. But again, we see a whole bunch of different species in here. We see white spruce over here. You know, we have red spruce. This guy straight ahead of me, that's a balsam fir, and you can see the size of him. Plus, you know, you've got a pile of yellow birch, sugar maple. This is yellow birch. I don't know if you want to figure out how to smell yellow birch. Yeah, take a sniff of that, and you can.
Oh yeah.
You see, it smells like wintergreen.
Yeah.
That's how you can identify yellow birch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So that's yellow birch growing up through, and you got all kinds of sugar maple. And this is great browse for animals like deer and moose.
Right.
You know, they really like this kind of forest condition because you have a fairly closed canopy, which keeps the snow depths down. And then you've got an abundant source of browse, available browse in all these hardwood, these buds here, that, you know, when you think there's 2-3 feet of snow,
right,
and they're walking around,
they can still get them.
That's right at their mouth height.
Level, right.
Yeah, so this makes great habitat for animals like deer and moose, actually.
It's interesting. There's old stumps there too.
Sure. This area again was cut probably sometime in the early '60s, and since then it was reforested and it's been thin, select cut twice. So probably the last select cutting that we did in here was about 10 years ago. Yeah. So
select cutting in this case, it would have been literally guys with chainsaws coming in one at a time?
No, these are machines. These are machines that do this.
Come in here and do this?
Yeah, we have very, very small machines.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of wander through the trees, and very, very trained operators who know what they're selecting for. You know, and they're making the decisions, and we spend a considerable amount of time training them. So we're just a little further. We're probably about 6-7 miles up the road from our last stop, the sign where we were at, and this is a 5-year-old plantation, and you know, I wanted to bring you here because it's again another point in time of, you know, the cycle of bringing back a forest, and the other great thing about this spot is that it offers us a great view out over the valley again, where we can talk about kind of this landscape level of forestry.
So what is the percentage when you plant a stand like that? What is the percentage of that stand to be softwood and then hardwood? Or you don't plant hardwood because you
don't need to. Hardwood will come back in, but even in a planted stand like this, you're going to be looking at 15 to 20% hardwood.
Just because it comes back?
That's right, just because it comes back. And you know, we're always looking at a point in time, okay? And that's, I think, what we've tried to demonstrate to you today is that these things change through time. And in 5 years from now, when this is 10 years old, this will be very thick. You'll have a hard time to even walk through it for all the trees that are in here. And we come out and we thin it out. We have men that come through with what looks like a whippersnipper, okay? And they thin them out again. And when they come across a yellow birch or a sugar maple, they'll leave those standing. In white pine, we have a whole called a pecking order, where we're saying, you know, leave all the yellow birch, leave all the sugar maple. And so you're building in that mixed wood component into the stand. And
that's both here in Maine and in New Brunswick?
Yeah. Here in Maine and in New Brunswick.
It's interesting, the state of Maine just commissioned a study to look at the forest inventory of the forests of Maine. And the results of that study was there's significantly increased volumes of hardwood in the state land, in the forests of the state, than there was 20 years ago. So it's kind of the opposite what you'd expect is happening. The hardwood is increasing, not decreasing. And it's a similar situation in New Brunswick.
The hardwood's increasing
There's more hardwood today in New Brunswick than there was 50 years ago.
You mentioned that today, actually.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. You know, so that's a little bit what, you know, obviously is a little bit of a disconnect is when people say you're spraying and all the hardwood is being killed off. The facts don't support that. You know, and those are provincial or state forest inventories. They're not forest inventories, you know, that we're doing. I mean, you can easily go down to the Department of Natural Resources and get that information.
Right.
Yeah.